Namo Phat. Good morning. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The second mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I vow to cultivate loving kindness and learn ways to work for the well-being of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I will practice generosity by sharing my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in real need. I'm determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. I will respect the property of others, but I will prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species on earth. We're reading a Dhamma talk by Ajahn Sundara called Suffering and Its Causes, and it's from a book called The Body, Dhamma Reflections on Aging, Sickness, and Death by the nuns of Amaravati. Most of you know the teaching of the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha once picked up a handful of leaves and asked his monks, "What do you think, monks? Are there more leaves in the forest, or are there more leaves in my hand?" Of course, the monks said that there were more leaves in the forest than in the Buddha's hands. The Buddha said, "The leaves in the forest are how much I know. The leaves in my hand are what you need to be free." So basically, he said, you don't need to know everything that a Buddha knows. You just need to know what will make you free. The handful of leaves is a symbol for the Four Noble Truths. The whole world suffers, but how many people know they're suffering? We just experience suffering, but we don't understand suffering, do we? That's the first teaching of the Buddha. He asks us to practice understanding suffering, to see clearly how it arises and how it ends, how it affects us, and how we respond to it, how we react. Our suffering is a very strong identity, and we're very attached to it. As long as we react, that's a sign of our attachment, and you can't understand suffering as long as you're so attached to it. The teaching of dukkha is not just about suffering from a stomachache or a headache or a separation from loved ones. It's really talking about the whole human predicament. This mind and body is a realm of suffering, a realm of instability, a realm of fear, a realm of desires. These desires keep telling you that you should act in certain ways, and your desires don't get fulfilled, not all of them anyway. To understand suffering, to understand anything, you have to be at some level detached. Do you know what I mean? If there is too much emotion binding the situation that we are observing, then we can't see clearly because all our perception of the situation is filtered through the emotional response. Emotions are interesting, you know. They come up so suddenly. Maybe you're in a situation where you feel relaxed and confident, and suddenly, bang, a button is pushed and you start crying. Sometimes our tears are disproportionate to what happened. We suffer, but we don't understand suffering. So the task we have at hand is to humbly walk the path of understanding of suffering. Now most of us, we just want to get there. We want to get to the end of the path. We're not prepared to take the first step. We want the results, but we're not prepared to set up the causes and conditions. Sometimes we're too lazy, too impatient, too careless to actually do what is necessary to establish the causes for that result to arise. To understand suffering, we must understand the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering, according to the teachings of the Buddha, is threefold: the attachment to sense pleasure, the attachment to becoming, and the attachment to non-becoming. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me this morning.